Hey everyone, how's it going? Today we are playing NHL 23 franchise mode. So I just want to give you guys a look at the team that I have been building. So it is the year 2025 and I am 3 years deep into playing a campaign with the Vancouver Canucks. The way things have gone is I have gone through a full-on rebuild. So in the year 2022, I completely dismantled the current Canucks roster, trading everything except for Pettersson and Hughes for futures. And so my goal has been to develop a durable contender that will win year after year for the next 25 years. A contender that will always be competing for the Stanley Cup, a team that will always be really rich in assets and capital. So the way that we have gotten to this point, and I will go over the roster with you guys in a second here, was to shed all of the cap commitments that the Canucks had in 2022. So for example, we traded a guy like Miller for some futures. We traded him for like a first round pick and some prospects. Actually, those assets never ended up working, but the key thing is that we got cap space. So with the cap space that we were able to create from trading all of our players in 2022, we've been able to use that in order to make a series of moves, sign free agents, use them as a deadline fodder basically to be flipped. And I basically built this team through the draft after a couple years of drafting in basically the top 10. So in the 2022-2023 season, the team came pretty much dead last in the league because it was basically just an AHL team. And so in that season, I was able to draft, Bedard, who actually went second overall in that draft. So he wasn't even the best player. And I was able to draft this guy over here, Boris Dadonov, to help build the blue line. So I guess we'll start with the defense actually. So in 2025 now, the team is definitely not at its apex, but we are starting to kind of get close to there. So we have Victor Hedman, who I signed in the offseason. Now, I've been prioritizing cap space a lot in these first couple years, and I will continue to prioritize cap space, and I will continue to shed any kind of cap commitments for guys on cheaper deals and on ELCs, because that will give me a lot of flexibility. Now, I was able to sign a guy like Hedman here to a 2-year deal because I had $30 million in cap space, and I am basically able to court any free agent I want because I can just pay them a ludicrous amount of money. And these guys have tremendous value, say at the trade deadline or in another offseason, and they can be flipped for futures. So anyways, I have Hedman, who I just signed this season. He is playing with Quinn Hughes, who is now 25 in this campaign. We have Dadonov on the right side of our defense here, age 20. He's got an X-Factor ability. Mintyukov. So this guy is 21, 83 overall, playing on the left side. Hasn't panned out quite like I've wanted, but he is improving, which is good. And then we have Jet Wu and Victor Soderstrom, who I believe I traded for in my first season. I think I dealt Horvat and Demko to the Coyotes for Soderstrom, a couple other prospects, and their first round pick, which was a top 5 pick. Now the thing about trading for picks is that I try to do that sort of at the beginning of the season, so that I don't really know exactly where the team that I'm trading to is gonna end up. I think that just kind of makes it a little more fun, I guess, and realistic. Like, it's kind of lame to just trade for the first overall pick. So I try not to do that. Like, I'm really trying to make this as tough as possible for myself. And I'm also really trying to build my team through the draft. So I've invested a lot of time into scouting prospects in order to build this group. So anyways, let's look at the forward group. So we have this guy here, a 19-year-old player who's an 86 overall. We have Bedard, who is our franchise player, basically. D. Ling, Dawson Ling, a guy I drafted, this guy was drafted 4th overall in 2024. So we were tanking in that year as well. in the I guess in the previous, so I guess we're moving into the 2026 season actually, but in the 2025 season, the team actually finished first in the Western Conference, which was pretty amazing. So a 2-year turnaround, basically went from dead last in the league 2 years in a row to a complete turnaround. We're now contending for the Stanley Cup, and so this team here has a lot of depth at forward, with a lot of like free agent signings that again are on really short term. So we have Marchand here, who I signed to a 1-year deal for 10 million. I mean, we can overpay him. He was asking for like 7, but to guarantee that we get him, we pay him for 10. If it works, that's great, and he helps the team. We can flip him and replace him with an internal replacement. I mean, if we look at the depth on the team here, we have Nils Hoglander, who's an 85 overall, who can easily slot in and take his spot. I have Elias Pettersson pretty much in his prime right now, 91 overall. Bucenovic, another free agent signing, age 30, signed to a how do I figure this out? Signed to a 1-year deal as well. So this guy again is kind of a rental. So my strategy here is to just pay these guys a lot. I mean, if you flip them, you can probably flip them for like a 2nd-round pick at best. Use those assets to draft players, develop those players, and then slowly have them take over and play on ELC so that they can play for your team a little bit longer. But basically, the idea is to build a skeleton, a very cap efficient skeleton, and fill in the cap space year after year with assets on a really short amount of term so that they can be moved really quickly. So in terms of long-term cap commitments, we really only commit to guys like Bedard or Pettersson here. And we really try to avoid committing to guys that are old and are going to decline. So on the third line here, again, a couple nice low-cost bets here. So Dylan Strome, I signed for 2 years at 3.35, totally a bargain. Sharon Govich, same deal, a very similar contract, 3.5 for 1 year. So again, a lot of flexibility with these guys. I'm sure I could get at least a couple 2nd-round picks back for them, should I want to flip them. If not, they could easily be re-signed if they work out. Dvorak, another just cheap bet in free agency. I mean, we have a lot of cap space, so no problem. Now, Perreault was the guy I traded for in the Miller deal, and it didn't really work out with him, but he's an 82 overall, playing on my 4th line, so that's not so bad. And then this was another free agent signing here, $1 million. So again, let's take a look at the defense one more time. So Hedman, Hughes, Mindikov, 83 overall, Dodonov, and then Soderstrom. So let's take a look at the AHL team. So we'll show you the depth of the organization here. So there's a lot of guys that are pushing. So we'll start with the forward group. So as you can see on forward, we have 2 players with X Factor abilities on the top line here. So basically, we are just buying time until these guys are able to take a spot on the wings on my main squad here. So can't pronounce this guy's name here, but he's a 78 overall at age 20. 14th overall pick in 2023. A lot of potential with this player. He's 6'5", 203 pounds. So we have another guy, Timu Matanen, another late 1st-round pick in 2024. We were able to get this guy with some shrewd scouting. So a 19-year-old player with a 77 overall rating here definitely has the look of a potential star. Jameson Tanabe, 80 overall at age 20. Elite with low potential, but this player has been growing a lot. When I drafted them, they were in the 50s, and now they're up into the 80s. Lekaramaki was an original prospect of the previous regime. This player is okay, I would say, 75 overall at age 21. Maybe they turn into something, maybe they don't. Leo Carlson, this guy has been a bit tough to develop, but he's only 20, so maybe there's more development on the way. They have a couple superstar abilities. Elmer Soderblom traded for this guy in a package deal with Mintyukov. 250 pounds, 6'8", 79 overall only, but hopefully they pan out. I traded for this player, and this seems like an intriguing prospect. So they were drafted in the 3rd round 2025. They have 3 X Factor abilities, only 61 overall. We have a 78 overall center here, some top 9 forward, high potential, drafted in the first round in 2023. Noel Gunler, Klimovich, Lockhart. So really nice depth in the AHL level here. Like really, if I move out any of those guys on the main squad, they can easily be replaced with one of these players here. Now on defense, again, we have another player that has an X Factor ability that is just waiting in the wings. We have too much depth already 3 years into this. So we have Galiev, top 4D, medium elite potential. Now the way that I acquired this player, so in the previous offseason, we had, again, like 30 million in cap space. So I was able to sign Austin Matthews to a 3-year deal. He has the max trade value in this game, so I was able to trade him to the San Jose Sharks for, the Penguins for this player, Galiev, and this player here, Livingstone, who plays on my first line. So basically 2 top 4 draft pick level players in exchange for Matthews. In addition to that, actually another prospect and a first round pick. So really was able to accrue a lot of assets for a player who's honestly really, really good. And we'll see how the team does this year. But to turn an asset like Matthews, who we basically got for free by just having cap space, into these 2 long-term fixtures for my team, I think that's gonna really work out well. And so the rest of the players there are like kind of top 4D type players. So I want to look at the contract situation to kind of show you guys what is going on here. So we currently have $5 million in cap space. So I want to show you guys the farm system. So we'll arrange by potential. So again, we're only 3 years deep into this, and we have 2 medium elites in the system. We have a lot of elite with low potential, guys that haven't even been signed yet. So, I mean, a lot of people who will eventually fill in on the AHL team in future years. And then a lot of top 6 forwards in the system as well. This guy, Helga Granz, still waiting on this player to develop a little bit more. Might be a bust at this point. Yeah, as you can see, the future is quite bright, especially relative to the team in real life. So we have tons of depth. I forgot about the goalies, actually. So we'll take a look at the goalies in my system as well. So I draft a lot of goalies. Green Tree is a medium elite goalie at age 20, 72 overall. So we're hoping that this guy pans out. We have another medium elite goalie, age 19, 61 overall. This guy, Blomqvist, is my main starter. And then we have a couple of other starter level players. Silvos. It's a lot of fringe starters. So pretty good. I mean, that was actually just in the system. So on the main roster here, we have these 2 players who are, working out pretty well. So anyways, that is the state of the union on the team at the moment. So I haven't started playing any games yet. I mean, I don't play games, I just simulate, but the team hasn't started playing any games yet for the 2025-2026 season. But in the next video, we will give you guys an update on where this team is at as we push towards winning Stanley Cups for the next 25 years. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Hey everyone, as I was filming the last video, I realized that I did not get a chance to show you the contract situation / books for this team, so that's really important. Let's take a look at the, I guess, short-term cap situation of our squad here. So as we can see, we'll take a look at who is expiring in 26-27. So we have some of our high-priced cap commitments here. You can see $8 million, $10 million, $3.5 million. So all of these guys will more than likely be gone next season. And that's going to give us like $21 million in cap space. Now, if we look at the majority of our team, they are mostly on ELCs. So Jet Wu, Livingston, Dodonov, Perot is on a less than $2 million deal. We have Podkolzin signed for, I mean, we will actually have to move this player likely, actually. I don't even know if they're on a roster, but we have them signed for 5 years for $2.6 million. So I guess Podkolzin has actually kind of become an afterthought on our squad. So Mintyukov is signed for 2 years. Now, some of the ELC players that we have are actually signed beyond this season. So they're actually signed to next season as well. So the team is actually in a little bit of a mini contention window at the moment, since a lot of our young players have term on their ELCs. So that's another reason why it's important to load up on free agents at the moment, because we have a lot of cap space to be able to fill up the roster with some heavy hitters in free agency. Now, when these players get signed to longer term, like this D-Ling player here, he's got another 2 years, but when he gets signed to more term, he's probably going to cost somewhere between $5 and $7 million. And that's going to eat up a lot of cap space fast, which is going to prevent our ability to improve. So what will need to be done? Basically, I will need to continue to move out some of the high-priced contracts on my team as my team gets more expensive. So as we can see, Hughes has a $12.3 million cap hit for the next 2 years. So fortunately, he expires actually at the time that my players come off of their ELC contracts. Well, fortunately and unfortunately, because I think we can sign him to a cheaper deal after that. But if not, we also get to make a decision on whether we want to move him. So a smart move would probably be to move Quinn Hughes for another player on an ELC, so that we basically open up $12 million in cap space, or we find a player who's a little bit less than what he is, but on a much cheaper deal. So I imagine that we could find a player who's maybe an 88 overall with some similar attributes for $7 million a year, $8 million a year. And we'll be able to use that extra $3 million to either pay our other players or sign other guys. So as you can see, again, Hedman is going to be off the books. That's going to be a lot of free money. So again, when building a team like this, ELCs are going to be really, really critical, as they will provide us with cheap and efficient labor. And so just in terms of what is in the system, again, all of these players have a lot of term left on their ELC, so it's not a big deal. So anyways, that is the contract situation. And yeah, now we will say goodbye for real. I'll catch you guys in the next NHL 2023 franchise mode video. Bye.